Morning everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. This is episode, I don't know, 118 or 119 maybe, of Tottenham Walks. That's Bugsy Malone trying to get into the fast moving waters of the Way Canal. And I'm Sideshow Sean. I hope you're all happy, healthy, doing the things that you love with people that you love doing them with. Guys, can we ask you for a couple of favours if you don't mind, and if you haven't already, smash the like button on your way in or on your way out, wherever you get the urge during the video. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. So many of you have been doing that for me. Really appreciate it. To those of you who aren't subscribed, it is free, and it really helps the channel grow and kick out to more people just like you who are yet to subscribe, that may or may not appreciate the content that we put out here. Lastly, drop a comment if you have something to say on today's topic. And also, I forgot to mention as well, if you want to hit the notification bell, then that will keep you abreast of every time we drop fresh content, which we try to do on the daily, pending there being news that's relevant and worthwhile. And I don't think there's too much today, so I'm going to try and keep this brief, but I do want to review last night's game against Nice, the final kind of mid-season, pre-season friendly thing, against Nice at the Tottenham Stadium. Let's talk about it. Look, the game itself, it was, I think, a decent game. I think Tottenham played very well. I think we generally battered Nice throughout the match. There's only maybe 2 or 3 people I really want to talk about, the standouts of the game, the highlight reel, if you like. We should have won the game, and it was good to see Tottenham playing against, some level of decent opposition. Nice are not, mugs. They've got some decent players, some old English players in the team, some strong players. So it was interesting to see how some of our younger players handled the heat of, big, strong, established professionals. I'll start with the kind of, I don't want to sound like I'm being harsh on this one, but I was a little bit disappointed with Harvey White playing in that kind of 10 role. I know he was playing out of his position, but I feel like he got bullied off the ball a hell of a lot by that old man. He's older than me, believe it or not, with a hairline to die for. Makes you look at yourself in the mirror and think, what have I done with my life? When you're seeing this guy who's 39 still playing professional football with every single lock still there, thick and bountiful, probably like the day he was born, and that was in Dante. Look, I think he really bullied Harvey White and kind of showed him up a little bit for being a boy versus men. No problem, not gonna have any long-term views on it. I just think it was a really good lesson for him. I don't think he was terrible. I think in the first half, he linked up some plays well, and it was great to see him connect with, more established players in a competitive game like BISSOUMA and Højbjerg, DOHERTY and Hill. I think the kind of, and Decky, of course. I think it was a great lesson for him, great experience for him. But to me, he didn't come across like he's anywhere near ready for that next step up yet. And I think he needs to go out on loan, where he can get more competitive football than what he would get in the under 21s or 23s, whatever it is. But, not have to learn and make his mistakes on Tottenham's time. Send him out maybe to a Scottish team, maybe to a championship team, something like that, and I think he'll do just fine. The real people I wanted to speak about today, though, I thought Matt Doherty was very, very impressive. 4 goals in 3 games. He's doing everything he possibly can right now to utilise this mid-season break to show to Conte, hey, remember, I'm a second half of the season type of guy. Remember how good I was last year or earlier this year in January, February, March, before I got injured. I come into my own around this time. And look, his performances were great. Playing off the left, not his comfortable side, but I thought he linked up fantastically well with Bryan Gil. And I'm going to talk about Bryan Gil in a moment, because that's going to be the main focus of the show. But I thought Doherty does everything right. He even confused me a couple of times, because I thought it was always going to be predictable that when he gets down to the byline, he cuts back inside on his right foot A couple of times yesterday he decided not to do that. He decided to whip the ball in with the outside of his right from the byline, which was creative and interesting. Be nice to think he could actually trust his left foot, but probably not. And I think after Brentford, against Brentford, it's clear that you're probably going to see Doherty on the left, Emerson on the right. There was no Jed Spence to see last night. Obviously, I think he was sick from a virus or something. But I think so that will be the likely duo that you'll see against Brentford. But after that, when you've got Perisic and Sessegnon back, I think at the moment you have to reward players who are trying to put their hand up and say, look at me. And I think Doherty certainly has done that, albeit against 3 teams of varying but obviously lesser opposition than what we would face in the Premier League. But I still think you have to probably start him ahead of Emerson Royal on the right. And again, Conte did the old inversion. 1, 2, 3 times I think we saw them pivot the left and the right wing backs. Emerson Royal, I think, got a grand total of about 45 seconds at left wing back before they switched it back again. But Conte does like to invert these wing backs, and that's for me why, when it comes to my ideal right wing back, if Tottenham aren't going to go after Pedro Porro, I mean, there's news out yesterday that apparently we're looking to bid, I think it was like 20 million for him. Obviously, we know the release clause is 38 million. Josh King, a guy that I speak to, shout out to Josh, made a really good point that maybe Tottenham could pay like 20 and then write off the 50% sell-on buyback thing that we have with what's his name? The young wing forward that plays for Tottenham, now plays for Sporting. My mind's gone blank, but you know who I'm talking about. Renege on that 50% sell-on fee, and then have some leverage and try and get Pedro Porro done for 15-20 million. And maybe that's a way to do it. But either way, I would like Pedro Porro because he's a very established, very, very cute right wing back. But if Conte likes to invert these players so much, having someone who's competent and confident and equally gifted at both sides would be a huge boon to our options. And for me, Joaquin Mele is the guy that I would use to do that. I think he's fantastic and he's brilliant on the left wing back or the right wing back for Atalanta or for Denmark. God, I'm really out of breath today. I don't know what's wrong with my lungs, they're not working properly. So anyway, good performances from Doherty, good performances from an okay performance from Harvey White. I thought Bissouma looked really good, and we're going to need him because Bentancur obviously is out of he's definitely out for the Saturday game, the Monday game, but I think we're going to lose him for the next 5 or 6 weeks anyway, so we're going to need to see Bissouma step up and probably play the main part alongside Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and then have the options of Ollie Skip or Pape Sarr off the bench. And I'll tell you what, guys, I don't want to shoot my load too soon on this particular opinion, but for me, I saw far more yesterday in Pape Sarr's second half than I have from Ollie Skip recently. I love Ollie Skip, and I don't have any problem with his efforts or his skills, but I thought Pape Sarr looked really, really comfortable yesterday. By far the best performance I've seen him put in for Tottenham Hotspur. And it makes me think that maybe you could bump him up to 4th in the priority queue, or at least compete with Ollie Skip. And maybe that showed Conte, again, it's only against Nice, only in a friendly, so I don't know how much you can really take away from it, but if there was something to take away, then maybe it dilutes the need to go out and waste money on half a dozen of these bloody, defensive central midfielder kind of players that we're linked with all the time right now. I thought he was very impressive, and I look forward to seeing more from him in the future. Maybe he'll still go out on loan, and if he does, that's good too. I'd like to see him hang around the Premier League or the high levels of the Championship to continue his development in English football rather than going back out to France or somewhere like that, and see what comes of it. But yeah, very, very sturdy performance and very impressive. Same goes for Yves BISSOUMA. But guys, for me, the standout star of the night was Bryan Gil. And I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking about him, because for me, I think it's quite a conundrum about what to do. The general conversation with him is always he's not strong enough, he's not physically tough, he needs to spend time in the gym. Sending him back on loan to Spain isn't really going to help him. We know he can do it in Spain, but let's see what he can do here, where it's a faster moving league and players are generally more physical. And the answer is always, we'll get in the gym and put on 10 pounds and go from there. Sorry, buddy. But in reality, I don't know, we were speaking last night on the Irish Hotspur with Dave and Jack, and between us we kind of landed on some kind of concept that might make more sense, and that is that whilst yes, you need to be strong, a lot of the younger players, a lot of the smaller players rather, that have been massive successes, like Messi, like Modric, you can see a lot of it in like the young guy Mudryk now. My favourite player from Denmark, Skov Olsen, does these things really well. They're very slight people, and sometimes, you know, it doesn't matter how much work you put in down the gym, you're just never going to be able to compete physically with, you know, bigger guys that are 6'1" that also put in all the time down the gym, right? It's not, you're not necessarily closing the gap. But what you have is something that they don't have, which is a super low centre of gravity and the ability to move your feet quicker because they're closer to the floor, and you're lighter on your feet generally. And so if you can take that ability to do what Bryan Gil does so well when he has the ball at his feet, which is the speed of thought that he has and what to do and how to keep it under close control but move it around players, if he can take that same process, that same thought ideology of what he does and how quickly he does it when the ball's at his feet, and mould it towards his vision and his ability to kind of interpret where the ball is going, where it's coming from, examine the scenario around you, and in immediacy, in a moment, in a flashpoint, have a plan of what you want to do with the ball as soon as you do it. Modric is the best at doing that. Right, he gets the ball, one touch, moves it, and releases it a lot of the time. It's because he's already kind of taken everything in whilst the ball is moving towards him. And I think if Bryan Gil can develop that side of his game, then the lacking in physicality, I don't think, will be such a massive problem. The other thing I think that he can do better is position himself between the man and the ball, like what Harry Kane does so effectively. Even though Harry Kane's 6 foot or 5'11", he can still draw fouls all day long by just being in the right place and letting the player clatter into the back of him and get pushed over. And I think if Bryan Gil can do that as well, he could draw 10 fouls a game, because he is so small and slender and lightweight that if you see a big 6'1", 6'2" strong, you know, like a bulldozer of a centre back clatter into the back of him, he'll get his free kicks galore. And so I don't necessarily think right now that his development needs to focus solely on just bulking up, because, you know, as I said, I just don't necessarily think that he could spend all day long in the gym every day and get stronger, but I'm just not convinced that he is going to necessarily put on that much weight. His metabolism probably moves too fast. But a fantastic performance from him. I thought he was absolutely excellent, and it makes me wonder whether or not, or what the right move for him is. If he is not part of Conte's plans, because Conte likes to play a 3-4-3 and he likes his wide men to be, you know, strong, athletic types, then you could make the argument, and I made it the other day, literally the other day, that as long as Conte commits to the plan, signs the contract, then one of the ways that you could raise some capital is by, you know, loaning him out with obligations or selling him. If he's not around for Conte, if Conte doesn't want him, then so be it. But I don't think you can make that judgment call until Conte makes his decision, because if you were to sell Bryan Gil right now in January, believing that Conte is going to be here, and then in 6 months' time Conte's not here, the next guy off the rank probably isn't going to play a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 in the same way, and will probably look at Bryan Gil and think, I'd love to work with that guy. He'd thrive under my management. And I think he's too much of a raw talent to to just let go of, and unless you know for sure what the plan is over the next 3 years, and until Conte makes that decision, then the plan could never be that certain. A brilliant performance from him. I want to see a lot more from him. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Like, share and subscribe, and as always, bye bye.